Okay, so back in August, I made a video unlocking the Beast Tribe quests in Shadowbringers. Now, this was a 5-minute video and it didn't tell you anything. It just said, hey, I did these quests and I unlocked the Dwarf and the Qitari Beast Tribe quests. The problem is, they were going to take a month to complete. It takes about a month to complete all the daily quests over the course of the month, and then you unlock little milestone quests that kind of progress the area that you're working in. So it was a shitty video. It was 5 minutes long and nothing really happens in it. So the idea was I'm gonna make that 5-minute video a month later, and I would finish all the quests and I would upload this new video telling you what happens with the quest. Well, it's not August of 2025. It is this time and place of this year, this time, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I failed to do what I wanted to do. That was like one of the last videos I uploaded too. So I'm here to make up for that. Now, the idea is still, I'm just going to talk about the Dwarves and the Qitari. I'm not going to talk about the Pixies because I did those when they first came out like 5 years ago. So it's not really much point in talking about them. I will do the panning shot of what it looks like when you complete the area for the Pixies, but I'm not going to talk about them. Now, up first, I'm going to talk about the Dwarves. Okay, so the idea behind the Dwarves is that there's this one dwarf, his or her name, I can never be sure. I'm pretty sure they're all girls. Her name is Ronnet. Ronnet wants to run away from their tribe because, they're being creatively stagnated, and so they want to go out and be like, oh man, I'm the best dwarven engineer there is, and I can prove it to you. Just look at me. So what you end up doing for the lead up quests is you basically tell them, hey, let's go over here. There's this landlord lady you can talk to. She'll give you this plot of land, and you can start working on it. Well, Ronnet wants to build a tank. Where did they get the tank? They got the tank from a lockbox that had all these old schematics from this amazing dwarven engineer. And so Ronnet busted it open and was like, let's go build this bitch. So the quests are basically, so how the daily missions basically work is you go in and you're like, oh, hey, we need barrels, but not just barrels made. We need just specifically the rings that keeps the barrels in it. So I need you to craft up just those rings. Or you go over here and you talk to this guy who's like staking out the dwarves. Like, what are these dwarves doing? And you're like, oh, come on in and find out. And either they will or they won't, depending on the person. Yeah, the dwarves are the crafting beast tribe. So the pixies were combat and dwarves are crafting. And we'll talk about the Qitari later, but they're gathering. So you're going to build a bunch of quest-specific stuff for the dwarves, and that'll give you points every day. So we get the dwarves to have this full sort of area just so that they can build their own tanks and they can have their own assembly lines and they can be industrious in this one section. Now, the reason that Ronnet wants to build a bunch of tanks is because in Shadowbringers, there are these creatures called Sin Eaters. Sin Eaters are this almost kind of zombie-like thing, but like they're colored completely white. And basically, if you get stabbed by one, you're infected with like the corrupted light of the Sin Eaters, and you transform into a Sin Eater. Now, Ronnet wants to build the tanks to not only transport goods from place to place, but also be able to fight off the Sin Eaters so that they can safely transport the stuff, right? They're really trying to do it to be altruistic. So Ronnet names this new construction place Watts Anvil. And that is going to be the place. So like if I say Watts Anvil, we're talking about the place where you go to get the dwarf quests. Just one of the first things that Ronnet thinks about how they can make this tank thing work is fuel. What's it going to consume? What's it going to take to get this thing up and running? Well, during a meeting, another dwarf shows up. This dwarf is named Ozog, and she is from a rival dwarf tribe. And they believe that they are Watts' true successor. That Watts is the old engineer that came up with the plans for the tank. And Ozog doesn't think that Ronnet is a capable enough dwarf to be making something like a tank. So what they end up doing is they challenge Ronnet in a sort of like, okay, well, if you think you're so cool, build something, right? Prove to me that you're the dwarf you say you are. And so Ronnet immediately delegates the player character, the Warrior of Light, to make some brewery parts. So like, I don't know, just brewery parts. I don't know what goes into a brewery. Anyway, we make the parts and we present them to Ozog. And Ozog is like, hey, good job. Check this out. And they build a like ale house. They build a place where they can produce beer. Now, a fun fact about that beer is that a byproduct of it is a fuel that is capable of running the tank. And so with this one person coming in and being like, hey, I think you're bad at this and I can prove it, they've solved the fuel problem. So it's kind of like, I got 1 point on you. And Ronet's just like, hey, you know what? Cool. That's one problem solved. Let's get the ball moving. So with the problem of fuel taken care of, the next problem that Ronnet wants to tackle is, okay, great. So we know how this thing is going to run. How is it going to be able to fight off the Sin Eaters, right? Because like one shot from a Sin Eater and it's over for you. So what do we do? Now, during one of the meetings, everybody's going around doing their like, oh, we should try this, we should try this. Well, Ronet's like, well, okay, well, what if we use a cannon? I was like, well, a cannon is big and bulky, and it may not be powerful enough. And that's when someone offers, like it would about an ether cannon. Ether cannons like take magic and they blast it into this magic creature. Maybe that could be useful. Well, Ronnet doesn't know anything about ether cannons, and so they consult the landlord if they know anybody that would have access or knowledge about the cannons. And it just so happens they do. There are these rich, I don't know if they're aristocrats or something else, but they are these rich people that funded the nearby city's defense, and they facilitated the use and acquisition of a bunch of ether cannons. So after a little bit of negotiations, Ronnet manages to convince them that, hey, let us use the ether cannons on our tanks. We'll even send some your way. And they're like, oh, you're going to sell them to us. And Ronet's like, I wasn't even thinking about making money, but hell yeah, let's make money if we can. And so what ends up happening is the warrior, the player character, goes to the main city and they take a look at the cannons and they're like, okay, cool. Well, I need to make some parts for this. So you make some parts for the cannon. You take it to Ronnet, and Ronet's like, great, I'm going to slap these on the tank. Check it out. And that's exactly what happens. So now fuel and weaponry is taken care of. What I like about what comes after this, too, is like there's some quests that you get, the daily quests, where it's not, oh, go over here and create this or go over here and talk to this person. Instead, it's like, okay, we're going to let you use this prototype tank to fly over to these guys, and I want you to give a demonstration of what it looks like when we use the ether cannon on the tank. Show them that, like, hey, this is going to be really useful, and you might want one. Now, a little bit later, Ozog comes up to Ronnet while we're there, and they're like, hey, quick question. How did you get access to the plans for the tank? You are too dumb to have come up with this by yourself. And that's when Ronnet goes, oh, yeah, no. The plans were stored in this like safe, and I busted into it and I stole them. Anyway, thanks for the fuel. Now, as bad luck would have it, that's when Ronnet's chief shows up and is like, hey, what happened to the plans? What's going on here? And Ronnet's like, oh, damn. I got caught. Yeah, no, I stole the plans and I'm making a tank. See, look, I'm actually doing pretty good. And like, I don't know if the chief is more upset with Ronnet taking them, but I think they're more upset. They're like, you shouldn't have taken those. You're not going to do a good job. And Ronnet, like being a very prideful person, is like, the hell I am. I'm going to make 5, dude, just to show you. I'm just going to make a bunch of tanks. I'm going to show you that I'm a better engineer than you think I am, man. You don't tell me I'm bad. And not only am I going to make 5 tanks to shove in your face, if I don't, I'll go back to the village with you, and I won't say another word. And the village leader, the tribe chief was like, okay, bet 5 tanks. They better be good, or else your ass is going back home. And so Ronit looks at us and is just like, okay, cool. I need you to make a bunch of stuff right now, quickly. We need to hurry this along. I can't go back home. I can't. I just got out of there. I can't go back. Can't go back. Make those parts. And so, like, what happens is while we were making the tank parts, Ozog shows up and is like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" So, like, it's not just that I think I'm better than Ronit, which I am, but it's also because I don't think Ronit remembers that we used to be friends as kids, and like, it really hurt when I showed up and they didn't remember me. So I wanted to like kind of like show them that I'm a really good engineer to make them remember that I'm cool. And you're just like making the parts just like, cool, bro. Like, what? Go talk to them then. Like, I got I got my own work to do. So we finished those parts. Like, the other thing has dropped for a while. We finished the parts. We take it back to Rana, and he's like, great. And I think she's like, great. Check it out. They slap the parts on the tank, and they're like, that's one done. We finished one. And now that we know exactly how a tank is supposed to be made, the next the next 10 are going to be quick as sin, baby. Quick as sin. Now, the chief told them that, okay, I want these 5 tanks done, and I want them done by like Beards Fest or whatever, because dwarves obviously have nice beards. So they celebrate that whole thing. So the idea is finish the 5 tanks, get to them by Beard Fest, and if they're good enough, I'll let you keep living on your own. Now, a lot of the other engineers at Watts Anvil don't believe that they have enough time. So what they ended up doing is they pack their bags and they run back home because they're like, look, if we return back home right now, maybe the chief won't be mad at us, or at the very least, that he won't be like super mad at us. Maybe a little bit mad, but not super mad. So now we're down a bunch of people, and the deadline is looming. So Ronit, not knowing what to do, decides to take a little breather by the lake and just like clear their head. They do a little thing where they're like, "Don't follow me," but it's kind of like, okay, I get it. Come on. So we follow Ronit to the lake, and the whole thing was basically just like, look, I know this is a lot, and I really appreciate you and everybody else that stuck around to help out with it. And yeah, okay, well, that's enough of a detour. It's time to go back. I walked all the way out here for this, seriously? But by the time we get back, Ozog, being the proactive person that they are, decided, hey, I know we just lost a bunch of people. So what I did was I rounded up everybody that I thought might be able to help us out with this. And so they they, along with us, work to automate a bunch of stuff. So like after this quest, if you check it out, you'll be able to see that there's an assembly line in the construction site of the tanks, which is immediately used to produce the other 5 tanks. But the deadline is still quick. So there's this funny thing that happens where Ronit's like, I don't think we're going to have enough time. Here's what I need you to do. Take these. And it gives us like a bunch of explosives. It's like, I need you to go bomb the chief. And it's like, wait, okay, sure. Yeah, totally. So we go to where the chiefs are, because we go to where the chief is, and we blow them up. Now, luckily, dwarves are very sturdy, so they don't get really hurt, but they do kind of get knocked out for a little bit, which gives them time to finish the tanks and deliver them to the chief right on time. And even the chief is like, okay, you know what? These tanks, they're not bad. All right. I guess it's fine. You did a good enough job. I will let you chill out there. Look, it was like you were hanging out with Ozog, and I remember as kids, I had to separate you two because you were from different tribes. And that's when Ronit's like, wait, what? That was my buddy? What the hell? Oh, sweet. I didn't even know that. Cool. I'm going to hang out with her some more. She's cool. And so the chief basically just says, all right, whatever, man. Just keep it up, I guess. I don't really have a reason to be angry anymore. Good job. And so that storyline is concluded with a final like feast where you get to go around and talk to each individual person that was in the quest line that helped out before. So it's kind of like a nice little wrap up. Okay, now I remember why I decided to do dwarves first, is because the Qitari, the little rat-like people, have a more in-depth thing. The dwarves were all about building a tank for their own future and desires and stuff, whereas the Qitari are all about, like, we want to find our history. So, buckle up. So basically, how the Qitari quest line started was after the player character did the level 75 dungeon, I think it is. It opened up a way between where the Qitari were living and the forest, the Raktika Great Ward. And so they decided, oh hey, we're gonna send some people out to go try and make contact with whoever's out there and see if they can know anything about what our people used to do and be like. And that's basically it. They make contact with a bunch of people and they manage to find a underground ruins that was probably one of their ancestral homes. So they build up a little base camp there and they just start delving in there and start doing expeditions and stuff to try to find pieces of information about their past. The other thing about them is that they have their own great serpent. So one of the main quests that you have to complete to unlock the Qitari is the Great Serpent of Ronka quest, where this dude is basically like, I am the prophet of the Great Serpent. This thing is so great. It's this little snake worm thing. I think it's ugly as sin, but the dude's all for it, and that's great and all. And it turns out that the Qitari also have one, except instead of being basic, it's wearing a little Indiana Jones hat, and it's still, I don't think it's very cute, but I guess it's okay. And so using those two serpents, it can kind of bridge a gap and form a friendly relationship between the people in Slitherbow and the Qitari. So how the Qitari quests work is basically very simple. It's you get told, hey, we need this thing from here. And either as a fisher, a miner, or a botanist, you go to a place, you collect like 2 or 3 of the items, you take it back, and you get paid. It's so simple. It's a lot less in depth than crafting or even combat quests. So there you go. Got the thing. Cool. I like you a little bit more now. Good job. So after doing some quests like that for a few days, a roadblock is found during one of the expeditions. The expeditioners, which is just a bunch of Qitari people because they're small enough they can actually go down into the underground ruins, is that there's a bunch of these creatures. They don't really explain what they are. They just know that they're aggressive. And so they're like, okay, well, we can't really progress with them in the way, so what do we do? Who can we talk to? So the player character is sent around, and eventually we go and talk to the prophet of the Great Serpent. His name is Quinfort. And Quinfort tells us that, oh yes, Slitherbow used to have problems with those same creatures. And if you look on the walls, you'll see that there's a bunch of glyphs and things of warding that we developed, and it keeps them away so that, they don't really bother us anymore. So here's what we can do. We can help make you some of these talismans so you can take down there and maybe it'll work. And so the player character is sent to go just collect whatever. It doesn't matter. You're going out there. You're just gathering whatever just for the sake of gathering. And you take it back and they make a charm and they're like, great, let's go check it out. So with the charms in hand, they go into the tunnel and they root around in there and they come back out and they're like, hey, great news. We found this Stelia. A Stelia is a little, not wooden, a rocky picture of, it's like a mural. It's a mural. They found a mural. And so on the mural, it shows that there's a guy with a sword and he's wearing a crown. And in the mural is a Qitari character. Now, the expedition is led by a father and son, basically. And what ends up happening during these quests is every time a stele is found, a mural is found, Um, there's two interpretations. So the father believes that it's the first meeting of an old king of Ronka and a Qitari. And he believes that upon meeting, the king of Ronka immediately just subjugated them, right? And he was like, yo, what are these things? I'm going to beat you up, and now you work for me. Whereas the son looks at it and he's like, no, no, no. I do think it is when they first met, but I think it is a meeting of joy and friendship. And so, since the two can't decide between each other, it falls on the player character to decide which route they want to go down. I chose to go with the son. I don't remember my reasoning why. I was just like, I just like it being nicer. I don't know why. I just like it being nicer. And it doesn't really matter what you choose, because the next quest, it will immediately start with, oh, hey, good news. While we were delving down there, we found a bunch of evidence to back up your claim. So it doesn't matter what you choose. It's always going to be backed up scientifically. Now, a few days later, after a few more quests, there's a new problem arises. While you're talking and finding out that, oh, hey, we found that evidence to support what you said, some expeditioners found out that there was a shrine to their guardian protector, somebody named Oxdalon. And they're all excited about it. Like, yo, Oxdalon was worshipped all the way back then, too. This is great. Now, the problem is the shrine is fallen into disrepair, right? Water, beasts, whatever. It's ruined. And we're not comfortable progressing down that path, because if Oxdalon's shrine is destroyed, he might be mad at us. We didn't do it, but he might be mad that we abandoned him. And so we kind of don't want to go further until amends are made. And so what happens is the Qitari are kind of, okay, great. Well, I don't know any rituals from back then that would kind of appease him. Let's go talk to the local Viera and Fanau. Now, Viera are like bunny people. It used to be only female, but then Square added male, so now it's just bunny people. So we go and talk to the people in Fanau, and they're bunny people. And the fun thing about the Viera is that they can be super old, but still look great. So you find out that the village chief was friends with some of the old Qitari that were in the family tree of the father and son. And they're just like, oh, we used to be really close with them. Like, we were really friendly. Now, I don't remember any of the rituals that they used to do, but because we were so tight back in the day, I bet that one of our own rituals would be just as good to appease your guardian deity. So what we do is we once again go out and gather an offering that can be made to the deity, and it's all Gucci. We just continue down, and another mural is found. This time, it is of a Viera with a bow and a Qitari also in the photo. So once again, the father believes that it's like, oh, this is when our people met the Viera, and they treated us like prey, right? They ate us and they hunted us. Whereas the son is like, no, 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 no. This is when our people met the Viera, and they were chill with us. They liked us. We became friends. Now, once again, it's led up to you to decide who's right, who's wrong. And because the village chief told us, oh, yeah, we were really tight, and because we were really tight, it's probably good that our rituals would work, I'm led to believe that the son is correct again. It's like, yeah, no, you guys were chill, you guys were cool, y'all are buddies. So obviously his interpretation is correct. And once again, a little bit later, it's found out, yeah, right? On loads of evidence, we found loads of evidence to support your claim. I don't even know what I was thinking. Sorry, son. Now, a few more days, a few more quests, you know the deal. And we find out that some of the Qitari have fallen ill. So what ended up happening was, while expeditioning into the ruins, they found a bunch of water in a chamber, and the only way to progress was to go through the water. So everybody got sick from the water, and now the new thing is like, okay, well, this camp that we made isn't really suitable for taking care of sick or injured people. So the plan now is, how do we deal with that? And that's when Quinfort shows up again. Quinfort is cool. I like Quinfort. And Quinfort tells us, hey, there's this thing, either rock, stone, or fish. Wait, either rock, plant, or fish that just produces a whole bunch of warmth. So why don't you go and gather some of that, and I can make a little thing that can help support you to stay warm. And so we do that. And doing so, the sick people get better, and we can even use those things that we found to progress further into the ruins, which is great, right? And within two shakes, the whole problem is solved. And while traversing that, inside of the water is another mural. This time, it shows a catfish type person with little legs meeting with the Qitari. And just a couple of weeks ago, I posted a video talking about the Namazu in Yangsha and how they're just silly little guys doing silly little guy things. So it's funny that the Namazu made their way even to this place, Norvrant, which in Shadowbringers is like a parallel world, yeah, something like that, right? So they kind of exist on different planes, and silly little guys are always funny to deal with. Now, the father believes that the mural depicts a time when there was a famine and there was conflict between the Qitari and the Namazu for food. And since the Qitari have come back, it shows that the Qitari won that conflict and the Namazu probably died out and are now extinct. Whereas the son sees the picture as sort of like, no, no, no. It's definitely during the famine, but I think the Namazu were starving and we offered them fish as a peace offering of sorts. Now, I've already sided with the son twice, so I didn't see a reason not to do it a third time. I do like the father's interpretation of like, nah, we fought the Namazu and they died out. But, I've already voted down the line with the son. I might as well just keep it up, see if I can make the dad mad. And I do that. And, evidence is found, but the dad doesn't get mad at you for continuing to side with his son. What happens is the father gets sick. So what ends up happening is, from all of these expeditions into the caverns, the ruins of their old civilization, they believe that they've brought a plague back with them because it's Namazu. I'm sorry, not Namazu, the Qitari, and even Qitari that don't go into the ruins are getting sick. And we even find out that Quinfort's friend has also fallen ill. And so, with no idea what to do, the plan is for the son to head into the ruins by himself to see if he can find another mural that would tell us what the answer is. And he does. He goes in there, and there's like a little cutscene that plays, and he comes back and he's like, guys, I did it. I found a mural. And it's even got the answers that we need. And it's basically, the mural is just a picture of the great serpent, and there's a thing above its head. That thing is so nondescript that an NPC has to come up and be like, oh, I know what that is. That's the thing that can only be gathered over here. Of course it's the answer. It's always been the answer. We should have known. It's kind of, okay, cool. Whatever. Ooh. So we go, we get the item, we bring it back, and everybody gets healthy again. And that's actually the last mural. So there's only 4 murals. It's a stack. It's really cool. Now, just like in the Dwarf tribe quests, the ending of the Qitari is very similar. You basically go from place to place and you have a final conversation with the different people that assisted us during the quest lines. And yeah, I mean, I like it. Like, you can see how the Qitari base like develops over time, as well as there's this, as well as how deep they go, right? Because if you go to where the quest giver is, behind them is this map thing, and it shows each strata as they delve deeper and deeper. And I really like that. Like, every week when you go there to continue the quest line, the map would get bigger to show that they were making progress. But that covers just about the dwarves and the Qitari quest lines. Now that I've completed these, one day, now that I've completed these, the goal, which is so far away from me, holy shit, is I'm going to do the Azim Step quests, and I'm going to make a video based on the Azim Step, the fates there, and the not ambient quests, but like the side quests. The side quests there that will explain how everything intermingles there, kind of like my Yangsha video. And now that I know how I want these videos to be structured, I'm gonna do a better job. Just you wait; they're gonna be halfway decent videos. Stay tuned.